The gun barrel presses cold against his temple. Three cadets laugh, thinking they've cornered a helpless old man in the parking lot. He doesn't flinch, doesn't beg. His weathered hands stay at his sides, and when he finally speaks, his voice cuts through their bravado like a blade. "Son, you just made the last mistake of your military career." The laughter dies, because the name stitched on his faded jacket reads Dalton, and if they'd paid attention in their Marine Corps history class, they'd know exactly who that is. It starts as a training exercise gone wrong. Camp Pendleton, 2:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. Three officer cadets, Jenkins, Morales, and Patterson, are running a mock hostage scenario in the auxiliary parking lot. Their instructor is late. They're bored, cocky, amped up on youth and unearned confidence. That's when the old man rounds the corner, moving slow, one hand gripping a cane carved from driftwood. He's 73, gray beard trimmed military neat, wearing a Vietnam veteran ball cap and a jacket 2 sizes too big. Jenkins sees an opportunity. "Yo, let's make this realistic," he mutters, checking the training pistol in his hand. Bright orange tip, completely harmless. Or so he thinks. His buddies grin. They've been told 1,000 times that Marines never stop being Marines, but they're too young to understand what that means. Too privileged to grasp what men like this have survived. "Sir, stop right there," Jenkins shouts, aiming the replica weapon. The old man stops, doesn't turn around, hands up. "Now!" Slowly, Dalton raises his hands. His cane clatters to the asphalt. But here's what the cadets don't notice. The way his weight shifts to the balls of his feet, the micro-adjustment of his shoulders, the steady rhythm of his breathing, unchanged, controlled. He's done this before. Not in a parking lot with toy guns and pretend stakes, but in rice paddies where the bullets were real and the screams didn't stop when someone yelled, "Cut." Morales steps forward, emboldened. "Get on your knees, old man. This is a tactical drill, is it?" Dalton's voice is sandpaper and smoke. Patterson, the largest of the three, moves behind him, presses the gun barrel against Dalton's skull. "I said kneel." That's when Dalton moves. What happens next takes 2.4 seconds. Patterson will later describe it to the disciplinary board as impossible. But the security footage doesn't lie. Dalton pivots, his left hand sweeping up to trap Patterson's wrist in a joint lock that's been banned from MMA for being too dangerous. The training pistol clatters away. In the same fluid motion, his right elbow drives into Patterson's solar plexus, folding him like cheap furniture. Jenkins raises his weapon, mouth open in shock. But Dalton's already inside his reach, one hand controlling the gun, the other striking a nerve cluster in Jenkins's shoulder that makes his entire arm go numb. Morales freezes, training pistol half raised, suddenly understanding he's not the predator in this scenario. "At ease," Dalton says quietly, releasing Jenkins, who crumples to his knees, gasping. Patterson is wheezing on the ground. The old man retrieves his cane, leaning on it as if the last 3 seconds of violence cost him nothing. "Now, who's your commanding officer?" They tell him everything. Because when you're 22 and you've just had your spine realigned by a senior citizen, your ego evaporates fast. But here's the part that breaks them. The part they'll remember when they're old men themselves. Dalton doesn't report them. Not immediately. Instead, he sits on the parking curb, gestures for them to join him, and when they do, humiliated, terrified, he tells them about Khe-Sanh, about January 21st, 1968, when he was 19 years old and the North Vietnamese army surrounded his firebase with 20,000 troops, about holding a position for 77 days while artillery shells turned the earth into the surface of the moon, about watching his best friend step on a mine and having to choose between retrieving the body or holding the line. "You pointed a gun at my head," Dalton says, his voice steady, but his eyes somewhere far away. "Even a fake one. Do you understand what that means to someone like me? Jenkins, cradling his numb arm, shakes his head. It means for half a heartbeat, I was back there, in the mud, with the mortars screaming, and every instinct I spent 5 decades trying to bury came roaring back. He pauses, watching a jet trace contrails across the California sky. I didn't hurt you because I wanted to. I hurt you because 55,000 ghosts taught me how to survive men who actually wanted me dead. Morales, the youngest, starts crying. Not from pain, from shame. Because his grandfather has the same look Dalton has right now, the same faraway stare, and he's never asked what that means. The instructor finally arrives, sees the scene, radios for the base commander. Within an hour, the cadets are standing at attention in an office, while Colonel Sarah Vance reads them the file on Gunnery Sergeant Marcus Dalton. Ratty. Silver Star, Bronze Star with Valor, Purple Heart with 3 clusters. The man they threatened is a living legend. His photo hangs in the National Museum of the Marine Corps. Hand-to-hand combat instructor for Force Recon for 20 years. The techniques he used on them? He literally wrote the manual. But here's the twist that saves their careers. Dalton doesn't press charges, doesn't demand their dismissal. Instead, he asks to speak to them one more time privately. The colonel allows it, though protocol screams otherwise. In that room, Dalton tells them the truth. I did the same stupid thing when I was your age. Disrespected a Korean War vet at a bar because I thought my fresh deployment made me tough. He laid me out with one punch, then bought me a beer, and told me something I'm going to tell you now. The uniform doesn't make you a Marine. The man you become when nobody's watching makes you a Marine. What you did today was wrong, dangerous, disrespectful to everyone who wore this eagle, globe, and anchor before you. He leans forward, his voice dropping. But you can fix it. Not with an apology. With a life spent honoring what this uniform means. With decades of proving you learned this lesson. Can you do that? All 3 nod, tears streaking their faces. Good. Because I'm going to be alive long enough to see if you're telling the truth. And if you're not? He smiles, a predator's smile. I know where you live. 5 years later, First Lieutenant Sarah Morales stands on a ridge in Afghanistan, pinned down by sniper fire, her unit taking casualties. She remembers the parking lot, remembers Dalton's voice. Survive first. Win second. She adapts his tactics, her team makes it out with 0 KIA, and she earns her own Bronze Star. She mails it to an address in Oceanside, California. Dalton frames it next to his own, in a workshop where he now teaches at-risk youth woodworking and discipline. The gun was never real, but the lesson was, and the 3 cadets who learned it the hard way, they never forgot the old man who moved like thunder and spoke like a hymn, because legends don't need weapons to win. They just need one moment to remind you why they became legends in the first place. Some debts can only be repaid with a lifetime. Some teachers only appear when you're too arrogant to know you need one. And some Marines never stop being warriors. They just choose their battles more carefully. If you've ever underestimated someone because of their age, drop a comment. And if you know a veteran who changed your life, tell us their story. They've earned it.